Hi everybody, welcome to 5 Minute Ministries. I'm starting a new series that I'm calling Little Sins. Now, we all know the big sins, things like adultery, rape, murder, arson, bank robbery, some kind of theft, drunk driving, and we can list all kinds of things. When we think sins, we think these really big things that have really big consequences. But the problem is we need to address little sins, and I'll put little in quotes. Now I'm talking about the things that are hardly noticed. And this is what I qualify, or how I qualify a little sin. See, these are the things that people do all the time that have become acceptable in society, where it's not that big of a deal if you do these things. They're easily ignored, flittered away, or, quote, easily forgiven. These are the ones that happen usually inwardly. They don't always happen outwardly, and they don't always have an immediate consequence. They are sins that can be easily justified or rationalized. You have the idea, well, it doesn't matter, or it's my astrological sign, or it's just the way I am, or I was born this way. Things like that. It's part of my personality. You need to accept me for who I am. That's the idea of justifying or rationalizing these little sins away. And people do it continually. The problem is these little sins also are the things that we quickly spot in other people, but we do not see it in ourselves. We don't consider them a big deal. They're the sins we don't think are there because we commit them so openly and freely, we don't even acknowledge them as sinful. But the question is there really a such thing as a little sin? Well, not to God. In God's eyes, all sin is sin. They are equal in size. Now, the consequences may be different. Some sins come with a higher price than others. Well, let me give you an illustration. I want you to think about two cups, or two drinks that you're trying to buy at a store. Now, I'm not counting for inflation here, so just work with me. So you have a 10-ounce cup that costs $1, and you have a 20-ounce cup that costs $1.50. Now, you can get 20 ounces if you buy two 10-ounce cups. However, you're paying a higher price for those smaller ones than you did for one big one, even though there's the same amount. And that's kind of what I mean. So the little sins, they add up, they build up. Also imagine you're laying on the ground and someone just keeps adding weights to you. They'll put a 10-pound here, a 10-pound here, a 10-pound here, and they keep piling on 10 pounds. Now, you understand that, yes, it's starting to feel heavy, but you don't notice just how heavy until it's too late. People have done this as contests, and they have been crushed to death because they did not realize just how much weight was going on them. And it cost them very, very dearly. Now, the little sins become habit, and they're hard to break. We become desensitized to them. Like I said, we just don't make them a big deal. We don't think they matter, but they certainly do. And as these little sins build up and we start to commit them more and more and more, people notice even if we don't. And the consequences come because if we do these little sins enough, people will not trust us. People won't even talk to us or bother with us because we exhibit these sins that we don't think are a big deal. And if you're a follower of Christ, you will be viewed as a hypocrite if you commit even these little ones. And in turn, you will be destroying your testimony. And it's certainly something we do not want to do. So I'm going to explore some little sins. I'm not going to do an extensive study on this, but I'm going to spotlight quite a few because it's things we need to recognize in ourselves so we can take the time to correct these mistakes, get ourselves out of this cycle of continually committing these little sins, how to recognize it in ourselves And because we can easily spot it in others, but we need to see ourselves for who we are and be aware of those little sins and eliminate them from our lives. This has been 5 Minute Ministries, and I'll see you next time.